She the queen, yeah, that's Queen Esquire. Legal trouble, she getting you out the fire. Another dame, she solving another case. Cause she litigate with dignity and grace. She the queen, yeah, that's Queen Esquire. Legal trouble, she getting you out the fire. Another dame, she solving another case. Cause she litigate with dignity and grace.
Hey Barbie, Chloe, period I, period 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 period got my name up in your mouth, you don't know no better. Don't forget I'm from the south, yeah, I got them headers. You watching everything I do, studying all of my moves. Wish you could do what I do. Period I, period period I, period period I, period period I, period.
Hello, litigators and opinionators. Court is now in session. You guys, so we have been discussing the very tragic and toxic relationship between DDG and Halle. And I do want to highlight that these are real people. I know that they're celebrities, but we do need to be sensitive to the fact that they, are going through a very tough time. And I have done 2 videos on this, so if you want to know the full story, go through the other stories. But basically, there has been a back and forth child custody between Halle and DDG. Halle filed a restraining order about 21 days ago, back May 13th, claiming that DDG was violent. He had been stalking her. DDG came with a storm, y'all, yesterday, and he filed I'll tell you guys, 105-page, I believe, court restraining order, and also a request to prevent Halle from going to Italy, which some people felt that was not really a sense of urgency because he had highlighted text messages that were from 2022, 2023, and 2024, and then the January incident, but he hadn't highlighted anything that occurred like now that would create an imminent emergency. Now, when you file for an emergency restraining order, and I want to give you a little bit of my background. I am an attorney. I've been an attorney for 11 years. I have practiced criminal prosecution and family law. So I'm speaking from legal experience. And I just want to say this is just my opinion. I'm not representing any of these parties, and I'm not representing anybody watching this live. I'm just more so voicing my opinion on the matter. But when someone is requesting a restraining order, an emergency restraining order, they have to highlight imminent events, something that occurred recently. The difference between DDG's filings and Halle's is in her filings, she did file and include text messages that DDG sent her on Mother's Day, like within a matter of a few days before she filed her restraining order. That demonstrated to the court that was a sense of urgency, and then that's when the court granted her restraining order. Now, she came back and she responded, and I did do a video on her response to DDG's claims. So again, if you want to hear all of those things, you can go back to my other videos. But right now, I want to talk to you about what the court ruled as it relates specifically to DDG's request for a restraining order and his request to prevent Halle from traveling to Italy. The court did a split decision. A lot of people have stated that the court outright denied all of his requests, which is not actually true. The court granted some requests, and then the court denied some requests. So I'm going to read the decision, what the court said. And the court case, just in case anybody wants to look it up, is 25STRO 02987, and it's Halle Bailey versus Daryl Dwayne Granberry Jr. So if you want to go look that up, the judge is Honorable Latrice A.G. Birdsong. Ooh, so it's a woman. Very interesting. So a woman is the judge is on this. Y'all, she gonna see through all the mess. And then the judicial assistant is D. Olivia. So this case is on Halle's side. Let's just keep it real. And this matter was heard in Superior Court of California, County of Los Angeles, the Family Division, Stanley Mosque Department 25, if y'all trying to go, okay? This occurred on June 4th, 2025 at 8:30 a.m., okay? So I'm going to read what the court ruled. So it says, nature of proceedings, ex parte hearing request filed by respondent on June 4th, 2025. That means it was a hearing that was between the judge and DDG and his attorney. That means Halle was not present. And usually this is allowed if the petitioner or the respondent or the party who is filing is claiming it's an emergency, it's something that happened imminent, and they need a ruling on this decision quickly, and the other person shouldn't hear because they feel like this person's going to do something dangerous. So they have to do it without the other party present. Because normally in a judicial proceeding, both parties should be able to be present. They should be able to defend themselves and so forth. But in ex parte, it's usually allowed under emergency situations. So DDG came back claiming it was an emergency, which in my opinion, it wasn't. And I think the judge got it right here, because in his declarations, he was only reporting things that happened last year, 2 years ago, 3 years ago. And the most recent thing was in January. So basically he waited 5 months to request an emergency order when you claim that she is so unstable. Like, why you should have filed it back in January when she was attacked. Whereas Halle, if we go back to the video that I did for that, she did include a text message where he sent her a text message about her being in St. Lucia with I don't know that guy's name. You guys know his name. Put it in the chat. But she was supposed to be out here with some man with her son. And that was during Mother's Day. And she was claiming that this man continues to harass her. And then she was showed posts that recently were sent to her of people that were DDG's followers threatening her and stuff like that. And so that's why the judge found the urgency for her case versus DDG's. So let's go ahead and finish reading it. The court says the following parties are present for the aforementioned proceeding. No appearances. So this situation is basically DDG and his attorney filed it and nobody appeared in court, basically. Nobody was there. The matter is not called for hearing, which is interesting because it was supposed to be. So the court said the court receives respondents' ex parte application in chambers. What that means is none of the parties were there, not even DDG, and the court was within her office reviewing his filing. That's how she made her decision. She didn't hear from DDG verbally. She only read his filings, and then she made her decision within her chambers, within her, I would call it, just for laypersons, her office, basically. After review and consideration of the moving papers in chambers, the court rules as follows. The court denies the ex parte application. Respondent's ex parte request for continuance is denied as it does not meet requirements of posing a matter of imminent concern and is moot given the continuance granted during the June 4th restraining order hearing for case 25STRO 02987. Respondent's ex parte request for an order prohibiting petitioner from traveling outside the United States with the party's minor child is denied as the court finds insufficient evidence of imminent emotional and psychological risk to the minor child during petitioner's business trip to Italy, particularly considering the court's ruling on respondent's competing domestic violence restraining order. And then he gives DDG's case number. His case number is 25STRO 03519, if you guys want to look that up. In the court records, if you don't believe what I'm saying. So anyways, it says, which includes limited child abduction orders. Further evidence is required at a notice hearing for the court to issue more restrictive orders. Wait, what did she say here? She said it's insufficient. And then she says, I want to know what she did about his domestic violence restraining order. Court's ruling on respondent's restraining order. The court says, which includes limited child abduction orders. Further evidence is required at a notice hearing for the court to issue more restrictive orders, as the court has granted sole legal and physical custody to petitioner temporarily and until the next court hearing based on evidence provided in petitioner's violence restraining order request. A copy of this minute order is emailed to the moving party at the email address provided with the pleadings. This date, no further notice is required. Okay, so here, let's tell you what she did. So she did a couple of things. So the first thing is she denied his continuance. What that means is he tried to request to continue to hear this later down the line, meaning postpone the decision, and the court said, no, we're not postponing that. That's supposed to happen June 4th, which doesn't make sense to me, guys, because they didn't end up having a hearing on June 4th. So that's kind of weird. She says she denied the request, but then she didn't hear it. So that's weird. Then she says respondent's ex parte request for order prohibiting petitioner from traveling. So basically what that means is she denied DDG's request to prevent Halle from going to Italy. And the reason why is because DDG did not provide any evidence showing that Halle is in danger right now. Current events. He's sending old text messages from 1, 2, 3 years ago, and then he gave something from 5 months ago. But you delayed 5 months, and now all of a sudden you feel she's a threat. Then another situation is to show that he's not really concerned for his child's safety. Is recently during the last 3 weeks or 4 weeks that they've been waiting for this hearing to occur, her attorney has been reaching out to DDG's attorney to try to set up the 6-hour meetings with his son. He ignored all of those requests. That to a judge looks really bad, especially when you're trying to get child custody. And I'm gonna let you guys know, I used to be a family law attorney. If you're trying to get child custody and you're ever offered an opportunity to see your child, you need to see your child every time you're given the opportunity. If you're denying those visitations and then people are trying to make excuses saying, oh, well, he don't want 6 hours. Well, if you're denying that makes you look really bad in front of family court. And that will extremely harm your chances to get full custody if you're trying to do that. In fact, in that situation, normally, if we weren't looking at Halle and DDG situation, normally if you were to go to family court and do mediation and the mother, for example, has the kid most of the time and the dad is constantly denying seeing the child when the mother's trying to get him to see the child, and she's documenting this and she takes that to court, that's going to look bad. And normally in those circumstances, a mediator would give the mother primary custody with the father being the secondary parent, and he would only get visitation rights, but she would be the mother would be the primary custody, get primary custody. So if you're a father out there and you're trying to get some type of joint custody, you need to be trying to see your kid as much as you can. You should be trying to get equal time with the kid, show evidence, document, text message, record, whatever you got to do. But DDG is Jack. He's messing his own chances up because he has repeatedly ignored Halle's efforts. She has text messages showing she tried to let him see his kid. He's ignoring her. He's basically setting up a record for her to be able to get primary custody, basically. I'm wondering, I don't know. Basically, these are two different things going on. Let me let you guys know that too. Right now, this is they're in family court, but they're only in the emergency restraining order ruling right now. They have not gone to an actual proceeding for mediation and custody yet. So after all this stuff is resolved, they're going to have to actually schedule a hearing to meet with a mediator to go over, have their attorney both be there present, and they're going to have to discuss the underlying facts. How many, hours is the kid with each parent? They go over a bunch of details, guys, in that meeting, like how often does the father see the child and so forth. And after they hear all those details, and if they're hearing details of Halle saying, well, every time I try to talk to him to see his son, he doesn't come. Well, that's going to reflect bad on him. And that's going to significantly, I've seen many times I had clients or not even clients, my clients have got primary custody because the father was out here just didn't want to see his kid, or vice versa. If I was representing a father and the mom wasn't seeing the kid, that would always harm her in the end. The court's going to give primary custody to the person who has the child most of the time because they're trying to see what is the welfare of the child. What is the child used to? They don't want to put a child in a situation where it's going to cause traumatic trauma to that child. If they're used to being with their mother all the time, like 7 days a week, and all of a sudden now you're trying to take sole custody, usually in family court, especially in California, that's not going to fly. It's not. So Halle has a stronger case. Even though he's trying to raise all this old stuff, it's really not going to fly because she can show evidence that she's been in therapy recently. She hasn't, displayed any suicidal thoughts, hasn't sent him any of those text messages in this whole year. There's been no indications of this. So, and then she's had the child for pretty much the whole time this kid has been alive and been the only sole financial provider of this child. That's going to look really good in front of a family court once they go to family court and they start preparing, requesting, the actual child custody schedule. She's more than likely going to get not sole custody. I don't think, you know what? That one's kind of questionable. Either when they actually go to the family law, if they're going to do sole or joint. But I think even the fact that DDG is not trying to see his kid, it could go either way. It could go two different ways. Either she's going to get primary custody, or she might get sole. But I don't see a judge doing sole. But it's kind of hard to really tell you because the problem is DDG is not even trying to see his kid, and they've been trying. See, Halle's attorney is smart. Halle's attorney is documenting every time he reaches out to DDG's attorney, and they ignore. And DDG has not made any effort whatsoever to see his son for those 6 hours. If he needs to start, if he wants to get some type of joint, or I don't think he's going to get joint though, guys. But if he wants to get some type of visitation, he needs to try to see his kid, because more than likely, it's more so there's going to be two scenarios this can fall under. She might get primary custody or sole custody. I don't see it being sole. I think it's going to be more so primary with him getting visitation, but she's going to have most of the days. She's going to have most of the days with the child, and he's going to get just visitation. Maybe he might get the weekends with the kid. They'll see how they do it. But the child's more used to being with Halle, and DDG has not made any efforts recently, at least in the last few weeks, to even see his kid when she's been documenting. Her attorney's very smart. He knows about family law. And the fact that DDG is ignoring all this, he's totally jacking up his case. He doesn't realize that. I don't know why his attorney isn't advising him that, sir, you need to try to see your kid. You need to document that you're reaching out to her attorney, or I'm reaching out to her attorney to set these 6 hour schedules up until they actually have the hearing. So currently there's temporary orders that are in place. These aren't the permanent orders yet. What that means is it's temporary until they have a hearing. They're going to have an evidentiary hearing. That means they're going to have to present testimony, video evidence that they may have, recordings that they may have, whatever they want to present to the judge. And then at that hearing, then the judge is going to decide whether she's going to extend Halle's restraining order to a long-term restraining order, which can proceed for a couple years, sometimes even 3 years or longer, depending on the extent, the gravity of the evidence that she presents and he presents, and then go from there, basically. Now, when I read this hearing, it was the language wasn't really clear so first he denied her request. Denied DDG's request. So Halle's going to Italy, basically, with the son. They didn't see any imminency. He lost that claim. And I think the judge was right, because he did not provide any actual imminent danger to that child. But let's see here. Let's go to the next part of this. Now, there is a temporary restraining order that was filed by, this is Halle Bailey's. Oh, restrained person. So DDG filed his DV-110 restraining order. This is a temporary restraining order. So he did the same thing Halle did. He's basically saying, this is an emergency, Your Honor. I need a quick emergency temporary order until we can have a hearing. And then you can decide whether you want to make it a long-term restraining order. So I'm going to look over his evidence. So he said he wants to restrain Halle Bailey. Let's see here. Let's see what the court said. He doesn't include any other family members here. They have the original order. Okay, what did the court say? This order, okay, let's see. This order date. This order expires at the end of the hearing listed below, June 24, 2025 at 8:30. Okay, so it looks like the court granted his restraining order, guys. So both parties have a restraining order in place. Halle cannot I don't know if they went and served her yet with this, so they have to personally serve her, or they can serve her attorney with this restraining order that he has, that she cannot contact him. And it's a temporary one until June 24th. So June 24th is going to be the evidentiary hearing. The judge says she needs to hear more evidence because she's like, girl, I need to see more evidence, and then I will decide whether I want to make this a long-term restraining order. And that's going to be at 8:30 a.m. So guys, we got a split in the decision. Court partially granted his order by giving him a temporary restraining order, but the court denied his order to prevent her from going to Italy. So his vindictive attempt to stop her career did not work. And I'm sorry, I know people are going to be in the chat. They love DDG and they love Halle. I'm not on either side. I'm just looking at this objectively. I think his attempt to prevent her from going to Italy was a malicious intent. He knows good and well Halle has not posed any danger to that child. She might have said some crazy stuff in the messages, and she was completely out of it over him, which I do think she needs therapy, and she has admitted that she's getting that therapy. Recently in 2025, he has not, except for the incident that happened in January. We get that part. If he really wanted to show this was an emergency, he should have been filed this back in January. That's what I'm trying to say. The judge thought that too. So his little evil intent to try to prevent her from getting her job didn't work, which I'm happy because she uses the income from her movies and songs to take care of their child. She's saying he has not financially provided for this child yet. And I'm glad she has a lady judge, because this lady judge gonna see both sides the way it need to be seen. I'm just saying. That's just my opinion. But that is the ruling for now, guys. Let me know what you think. And we're gonna keep it nice and short this time. Let's see what y'all got to say in the chat. What is your opinion about this? Halle still wins. She can take Halle. Yep, she can take Halo out of the country. Yes. Okay. The truth is out about. Well, yeah, Halle does have some issues. We do know that, some crazy issues, but so does DDG. James. They're both crazy. Hi, Dan. Nice to see you, sweetheart. Cole, let's see what Colin had to say. He said, they just broke up near the end of the year. How she would have him his whole life when they were together. She has had him pretty much. They broke up, but she has been the primary one that's with them all the time. And they have been on and off. We went through there's 105 pages of that court record in my 300. Sorry, I have a 3-hour live about this. And they were on and off. We didn't really know the full story. It looked like they had been together for those full years. But there was times when they broke up in 2023, even when she was pregnant, they broke up. And then he got back with her back in June of 2023. But like early of 2023, they weren't together. So they were just off and on and very volatile. So most of the time, the child was, even DDG confirms that. So the child mostly is with Halle most of the time. DDG is busy listening to his mom and friends. Yeah. That's true, Colin. She only has temporary custody right now, guys. So don't think that's not the final decision. Her sole custody is only temporary at this time. Yeah, it was. It was it was pretty sad. It messed up her reputation too. I don't think honestly, let me be real. I don't think the 2023, 2024, and 2022 messages needed to be released, because it was out of just pure malicious attempt to tarnish the girl's name. And again, I'm not being biased, because I know somebody who loves DDG is going to say, oh, you're being biased. I'm just being honest from what I'm seeing, just from an outside person looking in. I'm not a fan of any of these people, so I don't really care. But anyway, from the outside looking in, it's like, given the evidentiary basis for an emergency order, it usually has to be something that happened recently. It's not something that happened. He's not putting on a full jury trial for a criminal case. And he's putting on all this excessive stuff that is like, sir, where's the urgency that she is posing a danger to Halo right now? Right? He hasn't provided any of that. She seems to be pretty much striving without him. Tana says, it's not right that she was able to block him from seeing his son. That honestly, I agree with that part too. I think Halle does need to make effort, but she has done that. If you looked at her court filings, she shows text messages of her repeatedly reaching out to DDG's mother to schedule meetings and visitation with DDG. She has she showed that she tried to, give the child to DDG back in January. She's trying. She's also had her attorney reach out to him the last few weeks to have opportunity to see his child. He's the one ignoring all of the communications. So he doesn't want to see his kid, apparently, because she's tried and he's not trying to. And there's a text message that Halle had in her court filings when she reached out to DDG's mother. And she said, hey, I'm going to be coming back May 14th instead of some other day she was supposed to come back. And she's like, but if DDG or if he wants to, he can take, Halo for about, I think it was like 6 days he would have with the kid or something or like a whole week. Sorry, it'd be a full week. She basically offered to give him a full week with Halo while she was out of town. And DDG said, no, I'll just wait till she comes back. What kind of father who's claiming up and down on online that he wants to see his kid is going to deny an opportunity to be with his son for a full week? And Halle offered that. So I honestly disagree with the people saying that she's trying to prevent him from seeing his kid. She tried, and then she realized it just wasn't working. So she had to go to the court because she just got tired of him harassing her and just got tired of it. She just wanted to be able to just do it the court way and stop dealing with all this runaround of trying to get him to see a kid, and he don't want to see a kid, and he only wants to come when he wants to see the child. And she's trying to schedule things because they're both busy professional people who are out here, doing content, and their schedules are busy. And she's just trying to come up with something where they both can work, and he's not doing it. So she just got tired of that. She's like, fine, I'm just going to go to court because it's like, this is not working. So I don't think necessarily initially Halle was trying to keep the kid away, but I don't agree with her court request to have sole custody and give him 6 hours a week. That's just like a little bit extreme. I feel like he should have a little bit more time with his child. I also don't agree with her statements that, when DDG has Halo, he's only with his mother. Usually when we're going to family court, a mediator will tell you, as long as he's in his scheduled time frame with the child, it doesn't matter if the mother or someone else is watching the child, as long as that person is a safe person. You don't get to police how a person's time with their child goes. Like, he has to work just like she has to work. She has nannies when she's working, like just like she's going to Italy, she's going to have a nanny. Just like recently she's been out of town. She had a nanny, I guess when she was in New Jersey, or he was and they had a video of the child being pushed by the nanny. So they both, if say, for example, he's scheduled to have the child, let's say they go to court and they have the mediator, they hear both sides, they decide that, okay, Halle's going to get primary custody, and then you'll be the secondary parent, and you'll be able to have the child Friday through Sunday, and then Sunday night you have to return the child to Halle, and she will have the child from Sunday evening all the way to Friday, and then so forth. Now, during his time period from Friday to Sunday, if there's times when he wants his mother to watch the child for a short period, that's fine. But if he's like, okay, he's completely never there, that's going to be a problem with the mediator. So she's going to have, if she's saying, he's never with the child's always with the mother, he never spends time, then the mediator is going to have a problem with that. That might affect the ultimate recommendation to the judge. And usually a judge will highly weigh the mediator's opinion. They highly will hold in high regard a mediator's opinion. So if you're going to family court, you want to make sure your attorney is really, really working with that mediator to get that mediator on your side. Because once that mediator goes out to the judge and tells the judge, hey, your honor, I spoke with the parties. It's my recommendation that such and such gets primary custody and such gets secondary. And, this person should get this schedule. Usually 9 times out of 10, the judge is going to agree with the mediator and just go ahead and issue that ruling. That's how I've seen it happen in a lot of jurisdictions, especially in California. I'll speak for California because I know about California law. So basically that's what's going on, guys. So we'll have to wait till June 24. June 24 is going to really divulge a lot of the full evidence. I believe Halle is going to come and she is going to present evidence of the history of abuse that she claims DDG did to her, because I feel like DDG's evidence was one-sided. He did a lot of cut and paste of these text messages. He didn't give us any context of what text messages or whatever he did that caused her reaction. He only kind of pinpointed and highlighted her reaction to certain things he had done, which in my opinion is partial bias evidence. And it is a tactic that a lot of attorneys do to, make the evidence favorable to their client. So I understand what that attorney was doing, but that's why the judge is going to want to hear both sides at the hearing so she can get a full picture of what's really going on. So Halle is going to come with her evidence. Hopefully she actually comes to show full evidence of whatever history of abuse she claims, because she did show that one incident in January 2025 with her arm and her tooth, but she's going to have to come with more evidence. If she's claiming he's really abusive, she needs to come with some type of documentation. But here's the problem with this situation. Let me tell you this before I get off. DDG is very calculated. He knew what he was doing the whole time he was with her. If you looked at those text messages that we went over, he was very careful about what he said on those text messages, even dating back to 2022. She was just losing her mind and saying all kind of irrational things. But if you notice, when we went over those text messages, he was very calculated. He didn't say certain things because he knew eventually he would need this, in some type of way. Well, I don't think he was trying to go to court, but in some type of way, if he ever needed it, he would have that type of receipt if he ever needed it. So that is the type of person that narcissists do. Narcissists will gaslight you, deflect, they will mentally abuse you, and then you'll turn around and you'll react the way kind of Halle reacted. And I know because I've seen narc abuse before, and the person will cause the victim to react, yelling, screaming, hurt, irrational, kind of emotional, the way Halle reacted. And then the narcs will look like this innocent, kind person. They will be very composed. They will act like they're innocent. They'll say certain things to trigger your emotions, because once they'll love bomb you in the beginning, they learn everything about you, know what your triggers are, know what things to do to get you to react. And then they'll just start poking those buttons in you to make you react the way that Halle was reacting. That's a perfect example of a narc abuse situation. And then they usually use their flying monkeys. That's what if you look up narcissists, the flying monkeys are the people that go out and they harass the victim. Like, for example, DDG's fans who were harassing her, threatening her life, following her child around, different things like that. That's what they will do. So this is what it looks like. It looks like he was doing things. He might have done it verbally because he's very calculated. He made sure he didn't put it in writing, or if he did, in his evidentiary documentation, he was careful not to post or release any of damning text messages that he may have sent her, which is interesting. That's why I'm saying Halle's going to have to come strong at that hearing, and she's going to have to really show, look, this is why I reacted the way I reacted. And she probably may need that more so for her the mediation part of it, because she's going to need to tell them, hey, look, I wasn't just out here acting a fool trying to take my life. He was doing things that was triggering me, that would make me act this way, blah, blah, blah. Here's what he did, A, B, C, and D. That's what she's going to have to do at the hearing. And especially in terms of trying to get child custody and visitation and stuff like that. And I do think eventually, I don't know if this judge will do it or the family court judge will do it, but they should, in my opinion, order some type of parenting classes for both of them. They both need anger management classes, and definitely continue to go to therapy for Halle. I know she's going to therapy, so she's good to go. I don't know if DDG has any mental health issues, but that's basically what's going to go, I believe. And Tana, I know a lot of people, you guys are very emotional in the chat. I understand that you're either on DDG's side, Halle's side. I know that you guys misjudge and think that I'm one-sided. You're entitled to your opinion. I am looking at this from my perspective and from an objective perspective. And I know people are very emotional. It's very sad that they'll be fans of one person, and if somebody doesn't agree with their person that they're obsessed with, they will get in the emotions, y'all. They go off. It's not like that, y'all. It's just looking at it from, these are two people and there's evidence, and I'm looking at the evidence. That's all. And that's nothing more to it. I don't care about either one of these people, honestly. I really don't care. Okay. I don't care who get custody, what. I just want to analyze the evidence that we have. So we'll come back once there's any updates, but I think that's good news. Both have restraining orders at this point, and Halle will be able to go to Italy, and we'll come back and see what the court decides, whether they're going to give them the long-term restraining orders, which, depending on the evidence, I think it would be a good idea that they do get they do get granted long-term restraining orders and that a third party facilitate the exchanges. That's my opinion. Love y'all. Take care.